All right. So speaking of nostalgia, Tommy Tallarico.
Tommy Tallarico, finger cage, guy makes good video game music.
Very nice guy. I've met him multiple times. He's been on the video game years. He's a big Intellivision fan.
Yep.
So he's become the president of Intellivision in the wake of Keith Robinson's death. He's come in.
And he wants to make a new Intellivision console.
They put out a press release. Industry veteran Tommy Tallarico named president of Intellivision Entertainment and joins forces with original Intellivision team members.
Please, Tommy, no.
Intellivision Entertainment is proud to announce that it will bring the concept of simple, affordable, family, and fun back into homes across the world with the introduction of a brand new home video game console. The original Intellivision system generated many firsts in the video game industry, including the first 16-bit gaming machine, which is true. But
I'm just pulling something. Okay, there.
The first gaming console to offer digital distribution. I guess for like a modem, I'm guessing. That's all I think of. The first to bring speech voice to games. Well, Odyssey 2 did it around the same time, but I guess all right. The first to license professional sports leagues and organizations, as covered on the video game years, and the first to be a dedicated game console and home computer. Originally released in 1979, due to its popularity, it was remarkably retailed. I never heard that phrase before. Remarkably retailed across 3 decades. Well, I guess they're including the flashbacks.
Yeah.
Of 10 years ago. I don't remember it being sold in the 90s. And quickly sold millions of units.
Don't forget, like, Intellivision, like, classic packs, PlayStation.
Oh, okay, that's what they mean. All right. The new, which didn't sell well at all, probably.
I'm just saying,
But
I mean,
yes.
if I have to reach for a straw, there it is.
I like Tommy, so I'm giving the benefit of the doubt. The new Intellivision system will carry on the company tradition of first with its new concept design.
You're just reading a product release.
Because that's, I'm reading the press release because that's all we have right now.
Well, no, we've got an interview with him, too.
Oh, we do? Okay.
So Tommy says some things.
Tommy, can you hear me?
Tommy, can you hear me? It's his favorite system because he says it was always his favorite system because the games were cutting edge and fun and simple to play, so our entire family could enjoy them together. I find those important elements to generally be lacking from our industry with the current modern games consoles. Our goal is to change that by focusing on bringing all age groups and level of gamers and non-gamers together while introducing new generations of people to the legacy of success of the Intellivision brand. Look, no, Nintendo, like, how do you miss Nintendo? Nintendo is what he just described. Nintendo is that company that brings family and friends together under the banner of fun.
It's the Disney.
With games that are accessible for everyone. That's what he wants to do. And I realize for marketing, a person has to pretend like what they're talking about has never existed before. Mm-hmm. But Nintendo, I mean, that's... You can't pretend like Nintendo exists and then try to make a new Nintendo like it's going to happen. Nintendo, like you said, is the Disney of video games, and it's admirable that he wants to do this because there isn't really... Sony doesn't really focus on family games. No. Microsoft doesn't focus on family games. This Atari box is not focusing on family. It's focusing on 40-year-olds.
40-year-olds? 50?
50-year-olds.
55?
50-year-olds. So it's... okay, sure, it does seem like there's that market because I have this conversation with parents all the time in the store. Can you help me find some games for the PlayStation for my 5-year-old? I'll do my best, but yeah, that's going to be tough. Can you find something that I can play with my kids? I'll do my best. Yeah, a lot of those systems don't, but Nintendo is that answer to that problem. Intellivision is not well known enough, and I like Tommy too, but to go back on it, I mean, I can't necessarily be soft on it just because it's Tommy.
No, it can't.
It's just it's the same thing as the Atari box. It's creating a solution for a problem that does not exist.
Well, it's worse than the Atari box because unlike the Atari 2600, the Intellivision does not have a personality.
Right.
It's the techno, like, I guess what, first, second generation, whatever. It was like the technically superior, less popular version of what was out there. It was like the Master System.
Sure.
Potentially.
To the NES.
To the NES. You can make some arguments that the NES was superior in some ways technically. But the library of the Intellivision blows.
I think the Intellivision has great games, fantastic games.
They're not memorable. They're not marketable. That's part of the reason why it failed.
Well, they don't have nostalgic
I'm
value.
talking about the Mattel games that showed up on there, like the first party games. What were the big Intellivision first party games that people would still want to play today? Night Stalker? Like, what are they?
Oh, Utopia is fun. Dracula is fun.
Okay. I think I own Dracula. Hard to find game.
Lock and Chase.
Fun.
Good version of it. Good version of Burger Time.
Good version of games that weren't first party games.
Sure.
That's what I mean. The personality.
I mean, we're going back to the same problem though with Atari, where we've got.
But it's worse than Atari's though, because Atari, you can say they had arcade smashes on the system that were first party games, and Intellivision didn't.
All I'm saying is I don't think the library was garbage. It's equally as garbage as the Atari library is awful too.
But what I'm saying is it's not a marketable library.
Marketable it's not. I'm just saying I'm arguing purely on playability.
Okay.
Intellivision games are fun.
Sure. I'm not saying you can't play and have fun.
No, you can't market Intellivision games. There's nothing to market.
You can't market the system.
No, you can't. That I don't disagree with you on. I'm saying
it's like marketing it's like trying to market the Odyssey 2.
Yeah. Oh, I agree with you there.
It's sort of like, okay, we know the Intellivision Running Man. I see some people wearing t-shirts of that, and that's where a lot of people's knowledge of Intellivision starts and ends.
Stops. Sure.
Is the Intellivision Running Man. And that's really when you talk about the Intellivision, and that's how they marketed it back then. Animation, technically superior, but not necessarily a fun thing, like George Plimpton talking about, whoa, you have a full baseball team on the field here, and you don't on Atari. And it's like, well, gee, thanks, guy in a gray suit that's 65 years old telling me about this game system. So even back then, they were marketing it towards like as the superior technology, but that doesn't necessarily equate into being more fun or something people want to buy.
Yeah.
You know?
No, I get it.
So I'm not to say they can't put out. Obviously, they saw even before they knew the Atari box was coming and say we can do our Intellivision box. Obviously. We can do the same thing.
No one should have looked at the Atari box and gone, I can do this too.
They can. But to do it with the Intellivision, yes, the Intellivision sold a bunch back then.
No one, I'm not saying, you're going to get arrested. I'm saying no one should have looked at it and been like, this is a great idea.
But if they say they do 15,000 pre-orders of the Atari box, they'll do 1,000 of the Intellivision box. The scale of popularity back then, it was closer to 1-to-1, but now 35 years later, it's 50-to-1. You know, of terms of notoriety and popularity.
The only way you can sell this sort of stuff is nostalgia, and there's more nostalgia for Atari than there is in Intellivision.
There's tons more because Atari is a recognizable name to even younger people in some aspects. Intellivision has been pretty much lost to time.
Well, yeah.
It's been lost. And that's no fault on the library of games. That's just the reality of what's happened.
Oh, yeah.
The Intellivision is the... Man, I was going to say, is it even comparing like the Bally Astrocade to the 2600? How no one's even remembered the Bally Astrocade anymore. You know, and that was a technically fine machine. It's just that there's just people... It's been lost. The awful controller doesn't help, by the way.
But, I mean, regardless of the price point he wants to put it at, regardless of the, at least, nice sounding intentions of, making it appeal to family, he even says, in the interview that I had on my phone, I don't know where I found it.
Is it the VentureBeat article?
Yeah, VentureBeat. Okay. It talks about...
I'm not trying to also discount Tommy's experience with, because again, he's in all those Intellivision video game year topics.
It says, it's not it makes no bold claims about it being able to play modern games, but then when you out and out say that, then you start getting into like retro VGS and Chameleon territory on the question of, no, I don't mean that in terms of like a ripoff. I just mean then
what's the point?
Who are your developers?
Yeah.
Who are you going to get on board? How are you going to get people to limit themselves to this development ecosystem?
This is I guess
you can't.
and I guess Tommy realizes this stuff. He's not a dumb guy. Obviously, not many people under 30 know what it was. It doesn't have as big a name as Atari, but the idea is to bring it into the 21st century for all those people who don't know what Shark is or Astro Smash.
I do love Astro Smash.
Astro Smash isn't a bad game at all,
Oh, it's fucking fantastic.
but people aren't going to be interested in playing it.
No.
I mean, that's just the bottom line. You know what I mean? Like, it's...
For games of that era and age, you know, we're not even talking like early NES. We're talking stuff like Astro Smash or lesser known games, even perhaps like Adventure and you know, stuff on Atari. To get people to want to play something that is at this point, younger people, I think, especially, that is more simplistic. I like Astro Smash. It's a fun score attack game with risk
These are
reward.
almost 40-year-old games.
But I think there has to be a hook of recognizability.
Yeah, there's no mascots. There's no good marketing they did back then for it. The artwork was kind of similar to the simplified version of the Atari sort of painted artwork. It was a simplified version of that. It was like kind of like the kiddie version of that.
If you put Asteroids, Astro Smash, or Space Invaders in front of me, I would actually pick Astro Smash. If you put that in front of anyone else, like anyone probably 20 or under, 25 or under, chances are likely that it would probably go... I'm just thinking about this now. It would go Space Invaders, Asteroids, Astro Smash. There's no way, you know, it doesn't stand a chance regardless of how good of a game it is.
So the flashbacks have been available for a while. We know that. So I'm not saying the Intellivision brand has zero value. Obviously, they have some value. They sell some game packs. You can, you know, they still sell. I think they still sell. Yeah, they still sell the flashbacks in stores, don't they? ColecoVision ones they still sell. Atari's obviously they still sell. Intellivision Lives is on Nintendo DS. There's been like 10 different consoles where the pack of games have been on. Going back to what, PlayStation was it on? Was it even on GameCube? Did they have a GameCube one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
So these games have been out there. So it's just drawing in. Geez, it's not even your father drawing you in. It's going to be your great uncle drawing you into Intellivision games, drawing a 10-year-old in, because your father didn't play them at this point.
Yeah.
Your father didn't. Your father played the NES or Super Nintendo. I mean, that's how time is progressing at this point. You know, what's my expression? Not everyone dies. Not everyone. So I guess we'll have to come back in a year or so when they have this ready to go. But it's going to be it's going to be the same sort of points we made about the Atari VCS or Atari box, but just to a lesser degree of notoriety and visibility that will make it, I'd say, a much less chance of success than any Atari box could possibly be. And that's not to say, like I said, Tommy, he's a big television fan. He is. But there's only so much love of something can get. How can you expand it to a market 40 years later? 40 years later, this had no exposure to it at all forever.
Yeah, I feel like this is less. I feel like the intent is more genuine behind this. It's
the intent's genuine, but that's not going to work for people to buy.
It doesn't. Yeah,
you might as well just sell nostalgia like the Atari box.
It really doesn't matter what anyone's intent is with these. There's no. After we've seen so many of them, there's no. It's not gonna.
There's no appeal to.
Either that, or with the Atari box, it's going to be an instantaneous cash grab if it works, and then probably no longevity after.